We're going to have a lot of displaced workers. The nature of work is changing. And it's not just going to be factory workers who are displaced. You know, it's going to be people that...
And you see that in the long-term employment statistics. You see the decline of manufacturing jobs going back decades, not just a couple of years, not just pre or post NAFTA.
You and I have been talking technology for 15, 20 years, right?
You just called me old, I got that.
Yeah, I'm calling us both old, right? Or better, we're not old.
That's it.
The amount of change we're going to see over the next 5 years, 10 years, will dwarf everything that's happened over the last 30. We went from automating pen and paper, right, with spreadsheets, to connecting PCs into local area networks to, you know, connecting people to locally, right, to connecting networks to get the internet, to getting the network effect of communicating people globally and allowing that communicating, getting that productivity.
And that really starts to happen about 2098, 2000, right in there when the internet suddenly is getting into people's homes.
Blast off. And then we get to, you know, Facebook in 2004, you know, all the network effect to people, right? And to the Slacks and everything, the network effect in business, the Salesforce.com. But now we're introducing artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, et cetera. So, and what that enables is the automation of automation, right? And so the people who were writing software, particularly at the lower end, unless you're doing these advanced things, they're gone, right? The people that
because the software's writing itself.
It's doing itself, right? It's just math. Right? All the people doing basketball analytics and saying, okay, we're going to, you know, this is what you do in this situation. Well, you can't anticipate, you can't look at every possible iteration. People can't do that. There aren't enough people, there's not enough time. Machine learning can look at every possible and consider every possible situation.
So it looks at the statistics of the shots, looks at where the players were, looks at what happened in the last 3 games, and can play chess against it and see a reaction.
A programmer back in the day, so when I was writing code, it was the algorithms were if this, then that.
Right.
XOR, whatever it may be, right? But you had to guess, right? You had to use your best instance. And then it got smarter and smarter and smarter, and libraries to do bigger and better things. All that is being automated. And so now you have to know how to use that stuff. So either software works for you or you work for software, and once the software takes over, you're gone, right? So unless you understand that, you don't understand that the nature of work is changing, the nature of employment is going to change, and from a business, from a stock perspective. If you're in the Fortune 500, if you're an S&P 500 company, if you're in the Dow 30, right? If you're one of the bigger companies, you already know this. And in talking to a lot of these big companies, they know their workforces, you know, and given the supply and demand of stocks, the supply is shrinking and the demand is going up just as the economy grows. That's probably good news for stocks over the long term, but it's bad news for employment, and it's bad news for people who are disrupted.
Well, and that's part of the thing, right? Is that there's a time when GM was the largest employer, and the companies like GM was what employment looked like. If Facebook's what it looks like, the revenue per employee at Facebook is infinitely larger than any automaker could ever make or any manufacturer could make.
The difference is the time lag, right? The timeline. So what took 20 years before and then became 10 could be 5 or 3. And so when you start getting that massive amount of disruption in employment, what do? When now, I mean, that's the whole thing he ran on, right? We're going to get you jobs. And if you last 4 years, right, the whole nature of employment is going to change. There aren't manufacturing jobs coming back. There aren't more coal mining jobs coming back. No matter what you do to the EPA, they are going to be, a lot of these jobs are going to be gone. Now, there's still physical things. If you do infrastructure, you can kind of, you know, buy some time, right, spend more, get temporary jobs to build roads, build bridges, which is all fine and good, right? I think you can get a return on much of those things. But you're going to have to recognize that there are going to be more people out of work. So, you know,
through this innovation.
Yeah.
So essentially what you make the case for is education and job training for grown-ups.
No.
No?
No, I think that won't matter, right? What are you going to go back and learn to do?
What it takes, right? I mean, whether it's finance, whether it's software programming.
Finance, that's the easiest thing. You just take the data and have it spit out whatever you need. Right? I personally think there's going to be a greater demand in 10 years for liberal arts majors than there were for programming majors and maybe even engineering, because when the data is all being spit out for you, options are being spit out for you, you need a different perspective in order to have a different view of the data. And so having somebody who's more of a freer thinker, and because if automation is being automated, you just learn the tax rules. You just feed the automation the tax rules, and it does the rest for you.
So English majors of the world should celebrate?
I think English, philosophy, foreign language majors, maybe not now, they're going to starve for a while, but that's not even the real issue, right? The real issue is if 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million people have their jobs disrupted, and we see the direction everything is going and how quickly it's going. What are you going to do with them?